Hey, good morning everyone. Welcome to another edition of my morning mantras. It's a nice sweltering Dubai summer. The simmering Dubai summer has arrived. But I've been here for so many years, so come to enjoy even this part of the year in this fantastic city here. Right? So in a previous life, we used to travel to San Francisco and to visit and get inspired by all the digital disruption, which is inherent and intrinsic to that small place called the Silicon Valley. Right? It's amazing how much innovation in the world has come out of one particular geographical region, and how thriving of an ecosystem it has been for decades. Silicon Valley has been absolutely thriving, right? And of course, I remember once I've been to Sand Hill Road, and I was told a fairly large percentage of all venture cap is in that small road, called the Sand Hill Road. I think over 30% of the world's venture cap investments came from that Sand Hill Road, right? So quite amazing. So we used to take the, if I remember correctly, Sunday morning Emirates flight from Dubai to San Francisco, and it is used to arrive at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then around 4 days later, 4 or 5 days, we used to immerse ourselves in the startup and disruption ecosystem. And with me were, of course, various different colleagues, and we also had a lab there with Carnegie Mellon University, right? So, of course, I'm very worried, and I often talk about this digital tourism, right? And the fact that people go to these places and then nothing really happens. You come back and get onto your email and corporate treadmill, and nothing really happens there, right? But for me, this whole crafting of the lab out there was part of a transformation journey, and part of a phase of the journey that I call immersion, right? I mean, immersing yourself with all your senses, not just PowerPoint, not just eyes, but the whole senses into an environment where disruption is already happening, right? So the first question for you, right? So as I took the Thursday afternoon 4 o'clock flight back to Dubai, what do you think would be the most predominant feeling in the minds of people after having spent around 4 or 5 days in the Silicon Valley, right? I'm going to take a pause while you think about it. What would one feel, right, after having spent, being part of the corporate world, taking a break, spending 4 or 5 days of immense, intense immersion, right? We would probably visit, I think, 30, 40 companies and, take part in events and venture cap and the whole ecosystem, right? So what would we be feeling? What would be the predominant thought that comes to your mind as you go sit in the beautiful Emirates Airlines seat for a return back to Dubai, right? So quite surprisingly, it was a feeling of being totally uninitiated, probably wanting to come back and, feeling that, I've not really made any difference to the world, right? Because there was such a huge amount of digital disruption happening in the valley that you felt like coming and quitting and not carrying forward with your corporate life. But then, of course, my role was that of an entrepreneur. You picked up the sticks and you said, okay, let me take that learning and apply it to my context, right? But let me just quickly share one more story, right? So we were in a particular environment where we were looking at startups, and I think I would have looked at probably 15 startups that day, and the 16th guy came in, and I was by the time getting quite tired, and went to the projector, booted up a first couple of slides, and and subconsciously, I had kind of switched off, but subconsciously I could hear him say, something to do with security, airport security, and I was thinking, yeah, another startup in the security world, right? So anyway, he kept going, and then midway he said, yeah, but we've looked at this whole concept of organic chips, and we've created it, and something like that, and it's going forward, right? And suddenly my subconscious kicked in and said, did he say organic chips? I mean, what does he mean by that, right? And I'm one of those guys, because I'm curious. I have no shame in stopping someone and asking questions, even if the people feel that you're totally stupid, right? And so I just said, hey, excuse me, can you please what do you mean by organic chips, right? And then he described something which absolutely got me to wake up. It is exactly why you go to the Silicon Valley, because to feel absolutely stupid when he started talking, oh man, you must be aware this whole field of software, hardware, and then wetware, right, where we take organic cells, merge them with silicon, and we create new kinds of chips. And of course, I had never heard of something like this. I never heard of the word called wetware. So, and then what started off was a mind-blowing journey of how he had taken, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the cells of a chip of a bee and interfaced it with silicon, created a chip. Yeah, and he was trying to look for diseases or explosives using smell, right? So he had created a smell chip. Yeah, mind-blowing, right? I mean, that journey itself. Yeah, and just today morning when I was coming and going through LinkedIn, that dear friend of mine, he's doing so well. He's about to launch. He's taking part in some European cultural event where his technology is being kind of displayed. I remember at that time I had introduced him to my friends at the Airbus Disruption Lab. They invested in him, and over the years now he's grown. And I think during the pandemic he also he's probably going through clinical trials to look at that chip to be able to diagnose COVID, right? But anyway, that night I went to my room feeling totally uninitiated. I had my Kindle in the room, downloaded, anyway, jet lagged, so downloaded what is wetware and downloaded a book to try and understand what this is, right? So I mean, the point is, whatever you might know, you don't know enough in this today's world, right? So what was amazing about being to these journeys in the valley was that you expanded your horizons, you expanded your perspectives, and it created that bug in you to feel uninitiated perpetually, right? Paranoid about not knowing perpetually, and then being curious, and then kind of spending time learning and developing that continuous learning and continuously curious mindset, right? So hey guys, that's all I wanted to share with you, right? I'll go now and settle into my desk. But you have a great day. Stay curious. Keep that intrigue in your mind, right? Stay perpetually curious, and go look up at Google today at a company called Koniku and at a technology called Wetware. Cheerio. Bye bye.